G'day friends, Brian here with Voice in the Wilderness Australia. Today we have one story alone that should have Australia talking and, dare I say it, praying. Because the Albanese government has introduced what's called the Baby Priya Bill 2025. On the surface, it sounds compassionate. It's meant to ensure that if a baby is stillborn, parents don't lose their parental leave, their paid parental leave. Now, some critics say that the wording could open the door to something far darker. I believe it could, and it could be blurring the moral and the legal line between tragic loss and deliberate termination of that baby. Now, here's what we know so far. That the Baby Priya Bill, it's named after a little girl who was stillborn, which is always tragic because every child is a blessing. We know that. But this grieving mother discovered that under current rules, her paid parental leave could be cancelled because the baby had not lived long enough to be legally born, to breathe air. But this bill would make it compulsory for employers to honour that leave, meaning the mother or father can take their full period of paid leave even if the child is stillborn, because that gives them time to grieve properly the birth of their dead baby, so to speak. Now, the goal, according to the government statements, is compassion for grieving families. Remember that, compassion for grieving families. That's what the government are telling us. The Albanese government are telling us that this is, they're enacting this bill for. But there is controversy. You'll know there would be with the Albanese government. And the controversy lies in the details, because the legislation uses clinical definitions of stillbirth. Opponents warn it could be interpreted sort of very broadly, potentially including certain late-term terminations. Now, if that loophole isn't closed, employers might be forced to fund in paid leave in situations that were elective, not tragic. Now, this is where we need clarity. There's a world of difference between a parent who loses a child unexpectedly in the womb and a decision to end that life intentionally. And that's what it is. That's a mother deciding to intentionally end her child's life just because it hasn't been born yet. And to me, that's the same as a situation where the husband may kill the wife or the wife may kill the husband intentionally because they think, oh, I don't need them anymore. They're useless to me. I don't think it's right. Now, there's no compassionate society should ever confuse the two of those aspects. Life, in all its vulnerability, deserves our protection from conception to natural death. Every child is a blessing. Every child is sacred. It's not about punishing women. It's about recognizing that every unborn child is a unique human being, knit together in the womb by God, known by God long before birth. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. That's from Jeremiah 1 verse 5. Now, when governments start defining life by convenience or breathing or viability, they step into moral quicksand. Once a child's worth depends on circumstance, no one's value is safe. They're talking about, people get up in arms about places like China where female babies in the womb are terminated because they don't want more female babies. They want productive male babies. People get up in arms about that. But that's no different to just willy-nilly killing a baby in the womb just because the mother decides she doesn't want it. Now, we must also speak the truth here with compassion. Many women who face crisis pregnancies, they feel cornered, or pressured or alone. They're actually pressured by people outside to get abortions and things like that. They're not told that there are other avenues to go, like adoption. And now even help services and Christians can be arrested for praying outside abortion clinics. The government policy those people being arrested is government policy. Now, our response must be to offer help, not condemnation, real alternatives, real community, and real care for these people, for these women who need to make that decision. to keep their baby instead of being pressured into terminating it. The government policy should always lean towards protecting life, not normalising its ending. And the Labor government, the Australian Labor Party and the Albanese government, that's all they're about is death. That's why the Labor Party has all bought in voluntary assisted dying, which is a slippery slope that's going to go way wrong, as it has in other countries where people actually nominate to have people put to sleep like they do with their pets. But that's for another time. We need to, I don't know, we need to look at this in depth. If legislation risks sending the wrong moral signal, Parliament has a duty to amend it before it becomes law. That when you've got a government in power that thrives on death, thrives on, oh yes, we'll pay you to kill your baby in the womb, and we'll pay, or we'll allow you to kill yourself, and with assistance from another person. There's plenty of people in prison that are in there because they've assisted the death of another person. And I don't mean written and morally, well, it's not moral anyway, but I don't mean that, yeah, the other person's given their consent. And I believe that anyone assisting anyone else to die is liable. Now, employers across Australia, that's where we've got to get back to, need to read this bill carefully and sort of raise their voices to this government. If you believe in life, in fairness, contact your local federal member of parliament and your state ones, even though some of them are Labor. Ask them, will this law be tightly defined to exclude elective terminations? Ask for wording that honours those grieving parents that have kids have been stillborn without undermining the value of that unborn child, because that is totally different to a mother who goes out, says, I want to go and kill my baby today, my baby in the womb today, and good, the government will pay me for it. And that's what the Labor government, that's what the Albanese government wants to do. It wants to pay them to kill their baby. And if you're listening as a Christian, pray for our leaders, my friends. Pray that compassion and truth walk together in Parliament, because one without the other always leads to injustice. Now, my friends, anytime human life is reduced to a mere technicality, which is what this bill is doing, the soul of a nation should tremble. Australia can choose the higher path, the path that sees every child as a gift and every mother and father as deserving of care, not confusion. Psalm 139 in the King James Version tells us, "For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Let's be a nation that remembers those very words and acts like we believe them. Okay, hopefully you've got enough. I'm going to put a few pictures during the video where you can see the details of what I'm talking about with this Priya's bill. But remember, stand up, speak to your local federal member, and if you're an employer, stand up, because these women will go out, get terminations, and technically with a termination, the baby is then classified as stillborn, even though it's intentional, and then you, as the employer, will have to pay up to 6 months paid maternity leave, paid parental leave for the mother or the father in that situation, if the father has hung around with the mother who's having the termination. Just remember that if you're an employer, you are going to get screwed by the Labor government with this bill. Okay, I'm Brian. This is Voice in the Wilderness Australia, and please stand firm, speak truth, and keep your voice strong in this wilderness that is our modern world. Bless you.